Trying to be quiet. People might be sleeping here. Or not. Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 9 of my Bloodborne lore play. In the last episode, we took a brief jaunt down into the Chalice dungeons, as well as checked up on all of the people that we had rescued and brought back to Uden Chapel. Unfortunately, things are not going so well for them. The nun, Adela, she seemed to have been losing her marbles. Probably a more polite way to put that. She's bordering on hysteria. She was laughing and crying in equal measure. Sorry, I needed some water already. Good lord. The old lady, she had become unnaturally serene given the circumstances, especially knowing that earlier in the playthrough, she was herself bordering on hysteria. The same kind of laughter / sob that Adela seems to have fallen into at this point. The old lady is now seemingly over it. When we talked to her, she asked if there was anything she could do to help us. We shared our own problems with her, and she attempted to treat that by offering us sedatives. We got quite a large selection of them, in fact. Let's see. We have 10 of them now and 1 in storage. I think she ended up giving us about 6 of those. And then when we pressed her one more time for sedatives, she said she was all out, but don't worry, she'll find some more for us. And then we talked to Ariana, who was very not okay. She was clutching her stomach and complaining about how awful she felt, given the fact that, 1, she makes her living as a prostitute, and 2, we have been told by notes left on the ground and items that when the red moon hangs low, and that's not the red moon, but the red moon in the waking world hangs low, that a womb will be blessed with a child. It could very well be likely that she's pregnant. We also returned back to Yosefka's clinic and made 2 very important discoveries. Number 1, we killed the celestial mob that was hanging out in the front of the clinic by the door to the sick room, and found on that body one of Yosefka's blood vials. Now, it's possible that the creature simply found and picked up a blood vial, and that it happens to be Yosefka's. However, as we indicated in a previous episode, there were in fact 2 different voice actors for Yosefka, which we should take to mean that the real Yosefka was at some point disposed of by the imposter Yosefka, and given that we find one of these celestial beings carrying a blood vial, it's pretty safe to assume that Yosefka has been turning people into these celestial creatures, and that this used to be Yosefka. We made our way into the back of the chapel, or clinic rather, and found Yosefka's imposter on a gurney, on her hands and knees, claiming that something was writhing around inside of her and that it didn't feel great, but it also simultaneously felt rapturous. Given what we assume is the case, that she's experimenting on people and turning them into these weird creatures, we went ahead and disposed of her. We ended up killing her, and she was carrying one of the umbilical cords that we have started finding. So it could be assumed that that wriggling or writhing sensation she was experiencing was in fact a child, possibly from a great one. And then finally we went into the Chalice dungeons. I offered a little bit of information about the Tumerians that we would probably get more detail on if we actually went into the Chalice dungeons further, but given that there's a lot of repetition in those dungeons and the lore you get from it is not terribly important to the larger storyline that we get from playing the normal game, I figured I'd just give you guys a brief synopsis of it. Basically, the Tumerians were a race of beings that lived in these labyrinths underground, and they, at some point, had interactions with the Great Ones. And as a result of those interactions, they gained unique powers that we would bear witness to if we went further into the dungeons. One of those I think we kind of got a taste of when we found that big beast, the watchdog, at the very end. They can control fire. It's just part of their body. In the case of that beast, it was almost like lava was pouring out of it. And at some point, the Great Ones left the planet, and the people down there suffered greatly as a result. The civilization that they had built underground kind of fell into decline. And then when the scholars of Byrgenwerth and then later the Healing Church found them, they basically killed and captured as many of those remaining Tumerians as they could, and did whatever they felt was necessary in their pursuit of research and then eventually evolution. And we had already discussed that the scholars of Byrgenwerth, or at least Provost Wilhem, was more interested in elevating his thoughts and his mind to another greater plane of existence, and that the Healing Church was more interested in using the old blood that they found down in the labyrinth to evolve their bodies. And in the case of the Beast Scourge, that was probably a direct result of that attempt at evolution. So enough of me yammering. We've got some interesting optional areas that we want to look at today. We may only get to one of them. They can tend to be very difficult, but that's why they're optional. The very first one is going to explore a concept that we had laid out as one of the Lovecraftian concepts, the notion that the waking world and the dream world are two separately existing planes, and that humans can enter them seemingly at will. Well, we've already been in two of them. We're standing in one right now, the Hunter's Dream, and when we went to Byrgenwerth and took care of the bulwark that they kept there, which was Rom the Vacuous Spider, we entered two dream worlds. However, we've heard at least one item describing a nightmare world at some point. So if these dream worlds are seemingly idyllic and not terribly dangerous, I mean, Rom was only dangerous when we attacked him. I wonder what it would be like if we entered a nightmare realm instead of just a dream realm. So let's go find out. In order to do that, we're going to have to go back to Cathedral Ward, because the... Sorry, I needed water again. My throat's very dry today. The place that we need to go to is going to be found in the Cathedral Ward, and we'll explain when we get there. And by the way, this episode's being recorded on December 16th. Unfortunately, COVID seems to be having a pretty bad resurgence right now, so I hope everyone who's listening to this is alive and healthy, or getting through whatever they're dealing with. Sad to say that we can't seem to get rid of it. Doesn't matter if we have a vaccine or not, it just doesn't want to go away. So, Ariana's still not doing too great. Adela looks like she's still probably bordering on her madness. And the skeptical man's probably still being a dick. But the old lady's not here. There's a letter in this seat. Hold on, just wait a wee bit, my little dearie. So we kept pressing her for the sedatives that she herself had clearly been taking advantage of to soothe her mind. By the way, and I mentioned this in the last episode, if you listen very carefully in the background when I'm not running my mouth, you can actually hear a newborn crying. Can't really hear it now, but you'll get little strains of it as we're playing through the game now. So if she went to get more sedative, I wonder where she went. We know that she lived back in Yarnum, but the way that way is full of beasts. And the Cathedral Ward, which is right here and not too far away, has a lot of church servants. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, depending on the time of night you come here, those servants will be asleep. So I wonder if she maybe went out into the cathedral ward hoping to find some sedatives. Oh, let's go this way. And we might be a little bit early here. That's unfortunate. Yeah. So we're a little bit early, and I'm probably jumping the gun here, but basically she will eventually come out this way to try to find sedatives, and guess what's going to end up killing her as a result? Now, we don't know for certain that it grabbed her and crushed her, because as we saw the one time I did it over here and just kind of stepped back behind that set of tombstones there, it picks you up in the air, crushes you, and then sets you back down. It could also be that in her passage back and forth between Ood and Chapel and wherever she's going to find her sedatives, she ends up looking up and seeing this massive beast that she had probably never seen before, now fully visible, and the strain of seeing this creature kills her. But yeah, unfortunately, she is not going to survive her trip back from finding sedatives. And I'm not sure what the trigger is. I know we find her here giving out the sedatives after we kill Rom the Vacuous. We may have to finish one other area before she tries to come back and then unfortunately meets her demise. But sadly, we drove her to her death by forcing her to give us all her sedatives. Well, it looks like these church servants are still awake. Yeah, I see you too, buddy. Big swing! Owie! Jerk. Want some blood. You got blood on you? No? You missed. I didn't. Any blood? No blood? Alright. See if we can get the drop on this guy, or if he steps out before we get to him. Yep, he steps out. It's alright. We don't need to wait. Get him that way. Thankfully, the giants, not these people. Oh, look at that. He's doing something with his lantern now. And by the way, the lantern before was just a lantern, but if you look at it, it's now covered in eyes. Now, the reality of the situation is it was almost certainly covered in eyes all along, and because the bulwark was still in place, we could not perceive it. So there may be some other things that we'll start to see that we couldn't see before simply because Rom was preventing us from seeing them. And as we had talked about when we were playing through that section of the game with Rom, we don't really have any evidence to suggest that Rom was actively attempting to do anything. The more likely situation is Rom's very existence was the bulwark and not any active attempts to prevent people from doing rituals on its own part. It was simply just there, and its presence was what it took to keep people from continuing their awful rituals. And at this point, yeah, all these rituals are appearing to be awful. So thankfully, poor Eileen has not passed away, which is a good thing because we do not have what it takes to beat that hunter just yet. We may need to do a little bit of grinding in the unfortunately named dungeon of massive blood echo acquisition. I'm not going to say it again. I know YouTube has some rules in place for what kind of conduct or content you can put online. I'm pretty certain, and I'd have to verify this, that Cursing is allowed to an extent, but certain words are almost completely off limits. And if I was doing my due diligence, I probably bleeped it when I said the name of the dungeon in the last episode. And if I didn't, hopefully you got to see it before it was taken down. There's the big boy. We don't actually have to fight him. Or him. Whoa! Unless you really want to, big boy. But look at this. We step inside, I don't think they come after us. I don't think they do. Yep, see. They both... Well, one of them stopped. The other one's coming in. Nope. They're done. So. The last time we let one of these big things grab us, it picked us up with its little cosmic hand, crushed us, and then put us back down. But that was before something else we acquired. The Tonsil Stone. I'll read it again. A lattice-deformed rock, or perhaps a meteorite, the head of which looks an awful lot like something else we're looking at, doesn't it? Anyway. Appears useless, but possesses some odd gravitational force that prevents its riddance. A dubious soul once said, step lightly round to the right of the great cathedral and seek an ancient, shrouded church. The gift of the Godhead will grant you strength. In other words, this Tonsil Stone is the quote-unquote Godhead that we were gifted, and it'll grant us the strength to endure whatever this magical hand-scoopy beam is. By the way, if we had not already examined them and talked about it at depth, those heads on the statues leading up into the high cathedral of the healing church, that's them right there. So they knew about these creatures, and apparently they basically worshipped them. See if we can do it here. We probably have to do it directly in the doorway. Alright, I see a lot of bloody spots. This has got to be it. No, take me with you! And you can see the experience of having it scoop you up gives you frenzy. The voice of that gentleman who is just laughing, it's been in a couple episodes, but that is the same voice as the person who gave us the Tonsil Stone. So that's not a coincidence. He did that on purpose. Thankfully, the experience of getting crushed and having frenzy induced upon us is not... It doesn't cause your death. We get transported and we have all of our life back. But we appear to be in some kind of lab, where they were doing experiments. Disgusting experiments. I see a note, but it doesn't appear to be a note with anything we can read. It's alright. There's also a lantern. Remember, always light the lamp. You don't light the lamp, you can't go back to it when you die. So where are we? I don't know if it already popped up and said it. If it didn't, I'll just go ahead and say it. We are in what's called the lecture hall, or the lecture building. And we see someone on the other side of a door here. Let's talk to him.
What a joy it is to behold the divine. It must be such a pleasure. You're in my debt, you know. You're nigh on a beast of the field. But here you are, treading a measure with the gods.
So apparently we're getting close to some creature that he wanted us to find. very deliberately.
Are your feet as fat as your wits? Oh, cease this dithering. Take the plunge. Throw yourself to the wolves.
Anything else?
Are your feet
Nope,
seated?
nothing new. That's all right. Anyone who ever played any of the other From Software games recognizes that voice. That is the voice of the duplicitous individual known as Patches. He always does seemingly the same thing in each of the games. He'll point you to some treasure all the way at the bottom of a pit of some kind. You go over to investigate, and then he gets behind you and kicks you down into the pit, saying that he's basically going to strip all of your equipment off of your corpse. And invariably, you make your way back out, up to where he was standing when he pushed you into the pit, encounter him, and you basically say you're not going to forgive him for what he did, and he whines about it and then promises to give you an item if you don't kill him. I think there's a lot of dead ends in this area. That would seem to be the case. But the one area we're looking to go to is just a big set of double doors on the other end of this lecture hall. We may not be able to see everything here now. We do get a chance to come back here at a later time. This area is kind of a transitioning point between the waking world and the dream world. Which could also explain why so many experiments were being conducted here, because someone recognized that there was a unique quality to what they could learn by doing experiments here. And in fact, we're going to see the result of that, I think, right on the other side of this door. Yep, there he is. So whatever it is they were doing here in this lecture hall, they were potentially experimenting on themselves. It could also be that the more time they spend in this realm, kind of between the waking world and the dream, affects their bodies. It's hard to say. I don't know if they give you enough information at all in the game to explain why these, obviously, students have converted into what looks like living sludge, basically. Lecture theater key. Let's take a look at that. Key to the lecture theater in the lecture building. Today, the two-story lecture building is adrift in the nightmare, but once it was a place of reflection where scholars learned of history and archaeology. Perhaps it still is, as the students in the lecture theater appear to await the return of their professor. So, again, as we just said a second ago, these individuals have been waiting here for quite a while, and that this lecture building is not in the waking world. It's also not necessarily in the dream world. It is adrift in the nightmare. And that these students could have potentially been here a very long time waiting for their professor, hence what's happened to their bodies. But again, I don't have anything to suggest that is the absolute case. It could just be the simple act of entering this area converted some of these students to their now sludgy form. Student uniform, student trousers. I think we already had these, but we'll take a look just in case. Yes, we did. This is a different version, though. This is the one without the larger overcoat. Uniform of the students of Byrgenwerth at Bygone Institute Learning. I think they missed a word there. This alternative lacks the thick cape. The Healing Church has its roots in Byrgenwerth and naturally borrows heavily from its uniform design. The focus not on knowledge or thought, but on pure pretension would surely bring Master Wilhem to despair if only he knew. So if this is a uniform of the students of Byrgenwerth, what this likely means is that the students here were specifically scholars from Byrgenwerth and not necessarily the Healing Church. I know we've been putting equipment on, and I hate to break from tradition, even if it makes for a very silly combination, so look at that. Part student and part ghost face killer from Scream. Alright, continuing on. So we have the double doors that I was trying to find right here. And we also have an area here. We know those guys can drop from the roof, so we want to keep our eyes open in case one of them does that. Like that one there. What up? Important to note that when you kill them, instead of bleeding, they seem to emanate some kind of haze. Perhaps arcane haze? I don't think they ever actually drop arcane haze like the creatures that we were finding in the labyrinth, but that's certainly not something you see coming out of normal human bodies. And we also picked up Madman's knowledge from these two. Looking at these uniforms, they both appear to be members of the Healing Church as opposed to Byrgenwerth. So it's possible they stumbled upon these bizarre, deformed human beings, and that was knowledge enough to destroy their minds. Anything here? No. How about here? Nope. So as I had mentioned in the episode where we went over Lovecraftian concepts, I said that, you know, the humans who know of the incomprehensible vastness of space attempt to make it more attainable through a combination of occult rituals, which we've certainly seen plenty of, but also science. And with the Institute of Byrgenwerth in this lecture building, you're seeing a lot of vials of, you know, whatever substances they were trying to use with their experiments to evoke some kind of, you know, change or response or open the gate between the waking world and the dream world, and that's certainly what the stuff that we see in both Byrgenwerth and this building is meant to represent. Red jelly. So this is going to be one of the grossest items we're going to find in the entire game. Brace yourself if you are sensitive to disturbing imagery. This item is certainly among those kinds of things. Red jelly. Material used in a holy child's ritual. Stillborn infant born of a creature of unknown origin of the type found in some corners of the old labyrinth. And as you can see from the body, it seems to be fairly fresh because there's still steam coming off of it. So unfortunately, this is one of the things they were using to enter the labyrinth, and that's unfortunate and really, really gross. Seems Byrgenwerth and the Healing Church were both doing some extremely grotesque things in the name of their pursuit of evolution. I think we may have found everything we're going to find here. I was thinking there might be one more door. Yep, this is probably it right here. Excellent. Here we go. Uh-oh. We stumbled upon a class! Today's lecture, let's see how many humans we can capture and kill! Answer is a lot. Uh-oh, uh-oh, oh, this is not good. This is not good. Don't like. Transform. Now, one thing that we haven't tried yet, and it's possible this may evoke a better response. Let's try the old Tonitrus and see what that does. Oh yeah, look at that damage. I think we had discussed this either in the last episode or a previous one, that there is a separate race of beings, potentially from space, that are not great ones themselves. They are, in fact, what's referred to as kin. Kin are usually differentiated by the fact that they are weak to the blue sparks or lightning. And in the case of these melty individuals, they all seem to have taken a great deal of additional damage from the use of the Tonitrus. So it could be that they have, from experiments or pure accident on their part, become kin. And yet again, I apologize for rolling through stuff while I try to tell these important story points. I don't know why I keep doing that. I can't help it. It's fun. I shudder to think what we just rolled through that was making that juicy, squishy sound that we were hearing. Augur of Ebrietas. Let's see what that is. Here it is. This is, in fact, a repeated use item, kind of like the Beast Roar and the Empty Phantasm Shell that I think I demonstrated one of in the previous episode. But let's go ahead and read this. Augur of Ebrietas, remnant of the Eldritch Truth encountered at Byrgenwerth. Use phantasms, the invertebrates known to be augurs of the Great Ones, to partially summon abandoned Ebrietas. The initial encounter marked the start of an inquiry into the cosmos from within the old labyrinth and led to the establishment of the choir. So this item is introducing what would now be a fourth group of students of the Eldritch Truth, probably the best way to put it at this point. We have the Scholars of Byrgenwerth, the progenitors of basically all the other groups that exist at this point, who initially went down into the labyrinth and started finding all these things that they started researching, taking advantage of, stealing outright, bringing back to the surface for further study. And as a result of their discovery of Old Blood, the Healing Church splintered off from the Institute of Byrgenwerth, started experimenting with blood ministration. And as we talked about before, the experiment of blood ministration basically meant just testing it on people to find out what would happen instead of using it as a means of healing. That was always secondary to them. From the Healing Church splintered another group called the School of Mensis. They may have actually splintered from Byrgenwerth, but I'm not 100% certain on that. The School of Mensis, as far as we know, was conducting experiments down in Yahar Ghul, the Unseen Village, We don't know what those experiments were, but we know for certain that they wanted to do so using newborns. We will find out what those experiments are at a later time. And as this item describes, the initial encounter with the abandoned one, Ebrietas, led to an inquiry into the cosmos, and it led to the establishment of the choir. Now, where have we heard a choir at this point in the game? We heard it in Yahar Ghul. When we walked out into the open area, we noted that the chanting we could hear inside of the prison area of Yahar Ghul became louder. And as I had mentioned in that episode, the chanting was diegetic, meaning it wasn't just music to enhance the atmosphere. It was literally someone singing in the area that we were already in. And that's why it got louder as we proceeded further and further towards the streets. It's possible that was the choir singing. The name would all but guarantee that's who was doing it. However, it is also possible that the School of Mensis was the one that was doing that. All we know for certain is there is currently a link between Ebrietas and the choir. So this is one of those items that we would be able to equip if we had just a tiny bit more in our arcane stat. And we'll probably be able to add some of that at a later time. But let's continue. I think that was the last thing we could find. There may be one more door that we can open, and I have not done so yet. Not 100% certain on that. This side? Is there a door on this end? We had some doors that were locked, but I don't remember if they were from the other side or if they were locked because we didn't have a key. We can do one more quick sweep, just to be sure. Thankfully, I don't think we see any more dangerous enemies in this area. It was just those... I should probably look up the name, figure out what they are. Students? Lecture students. We'll just call them lecture students, for lack of a better term. We're not going to be able to open that door. And this is how we got into the lecture hall. I think we did everything we could in here, unless there was a door behind the professor's seat. Does not appear to be. Also, important to note that this gentleman also appeared to be a member of the Healing Church as opposed to Byrgenwerth, so it's possible they killed him. That's all conjecture. I don't really have anything to support that claim. It's just a feeling, a hunch. The uniforms all seem very consistent with those of the Healing Church, so that was it. I think there was nothing else we could find here, and that's fine. Let's go ahead through the doors to the outside. We're now in the Nightmare Frontier. Since the item that we had found in the lecture hall mentioned that the lecture building itself was set adrift in the Nightmare, leaving that building would, of course, take us into the Nightmare itself. So this is one of the reasons why people can sometimes come to hate this game. If you're online in this area, and I believe only this area and one other, there is a woman in this realm somewhere that you would need to eliminate, and until you do so, she will summon other players into your game, and those players will be trying to kill you so that they can get whatever Covenant item they would obtain by defeating you. So since I am online, there is the distinct possibility that someone's going to invade, and if they do, I'll have to fight to kill them or die and have to restart whatever progress I'm making in the area. Hello. Goodbye. I think we're going to put on the saw spear, because these are beasts. The additional serrated edge and fire damage may put that over the top. I believe they're beasts. They're certainly hairy. The problem with having that bell-ringing woman in the area is you feel an urge to move faster to try to get to whatever location she is in and try to get rid of her, but you do so to your extreme detriment. No, I missed the Oogie Boogie. Did I? No, I didn't. Got him. All right. He tried to get away. He failed. Look at that. One hit. I hit him one time and he died. Sometimes it's that easy. Ooh, we have an even bigger Oogie Boogie. And guess what? He also drops some goodies. Twin Bloodstone shards. Blood. I can speak. So this is a shortcut that you can unlock that'll take us to a different spot in the Nightmare Frontier. Not open yet. Don't worry about it. We'll find a way to it eventually. Some creatures down there that we will try to fight and in all likelihood start running away from because they can be very difficult to deal with. I think I see a lantern. I do. But we can't light it. Curious. Alright, you hear the ringing? That means the bell-ringing woman is somewhere nearby. I believe she's up there somewhere. And if not, we'll try to sneak and find where he is. Uh-oh, we got a hunter. Owie! I think this is just an NPC. If it was someone online, we would probably see their name. Uh-oh! 2 hunters. I'll take advantage of that, thank you. Oh, come on, you're making it too easy, guy. Seriously? Uh-oh. You took advantage. And 1 hunter down. All I had was a lead elixir. That's not good. Thank you. I don't know if there is a good lore-specific explanation for why hunters come here and try to fight each other. It could simply be a point of confusion. They don't know why they're there. They don't understand why they're seeing other people here. Maybe they actively, because of their blood-drunk state, are seeking to harm and harvest other human beings. I don't have a good explanation for that. I don't know if there is one for this game. Okay, thank you for your message, dummy. Fading Lake. We may not be able to take a look at items at this point, simply because it's going to be dangerous to do so without getting invaded. We do have a little sense of urgency to get through this area Not so much that we don't want to do any item farming, but we want to find that bell ringing woman and get rid of her soon. Give her the blood. I don't know if she's down here. Nope. I heard a bell. Maybe we are getting near her. Oh, she's summoning someone. That's what that is. I think we're about to be invaded. I also think that's leading me into a trap. But we're going to fall for the trap anyway, because I like boogie boogies. Yep, there it is. Whee! So this is a very large area, and there are a lot of different paths you can take. It's not quite as bad, I don't think, as the Forbidden Woods in terms of difficulty navigating it. But it is certainly not easy. I know for certain I have come in this area before and been killed a half dozen times, more, maybe. Just trying to navigate it. Ow! Whoa, 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 whoa! That second hit, I didn't see that coming. Didn't like that one bit. And someone else is throwing rocks at me. I don't know where. Bold paper. Alright, let's get out of here. Oh, there he is. Okay. You jerk. And we're starting to tap into our blood supply real hard now. So our journeys into the Dungeon of Unfortunate Naming in the last episode did pay off. We got some blood vials that I paid for using those ill-gotten blood echoes. I'd feel bad about that, but honestly, it's better than having to spend time off-camera grinding. Ooh, we got a bolt blood gemstone. We may be able to use that. Turns out we got an item or two that uses blood, or a bolt. Maybe even one we're using right now. Let's see if it does any better. Maybe. It's certainly staggering him. But I think we've talked about it before. You gotta use those items sparingly. The Tonitrus can be quickly rendered unusable if you use it way too much. There's something down there, but we can't see it yet. Not yet. Alright, just making sure I didn't miss anything there. I believe there's a shortcut somewhere up here. If that's what you would call this, a shortcut. It's up at the top here. Not sure if it's a tombstone you step on and it just kind of collapses. Well, yeah, that's what it is. It's this right here. Whee! Well, we missed our Oogie Boogie. That's alright. So that'll lead us in that direction, and I believe that's where you can find not only the bell-ringing woman, but you see someone up there? A spider with a pale head? Seem to recall seeing someone in the lecture building that looked just like that. I don't know if there's a second way down or if... Oh, no, I guess not. This is how we got in to... Yeah. Alright, so, good. Again, this is not the easiest area in the world to navigate. It can be quite confusing, in fact. Make sure we didn't miss anything back this way. I don't think we did. Uh-oh. We got a big Oogie Boogie. Oh, no, you don't. Get some blood back from him. More twin bloodstone shards. We may go ahead and put some into the Kirk hammer just because it's a fun weapon to look at, if not actually use. Oh, I guess nothing useful. Yeah. You probably fall down there and just hurt yourself, and it doesn't appear to be anywhere closer to where we need to go. So I'm not sure what great lore significance we're going to be able to glean from this area, other than the fact that it exists as a separate plane from the dream, the Hunter's Dream, and from the dream that acted as the bulwark for Rom the Vacuous. If Rom the Vacuous himself was not the bulwark, but it's hard to say. I think we're getting close to the bell-ringing woman. I also think there's something else we can do here that I hesitate to do simply because I want to get rid of that lady first, and that is all these shinies here. We can try to grab them. Let's get the drop on them. Right up the butt. See you. I did it because I hate you. We see an Oogie Boogie and one of the strangest creatures in the entire game. It's literally just a writhing mass of tentacles. That may be the only thing of significance in the area, and it's hard to explain why it's a significant find at this point in time. The best I could do is just tell you it's going to matter later. Also, we may be coming up on something incredibly dangerous, and I should change my equipment right now. So all those sedatives that we got from the elderly woman have a specific use, and we may need to put that to use very soon. Make sure I have it equipped. Another metamorphosis. That may be a more potent version of the one that we had. No, we can't do anything here. So I did say that creature is probably the most lore significant, but in fact there is one other that's probably equally, if not more significant, that we'll find very soon. Stunning deep sea. Again, we'll try to look at all these when we get through killing the bell-ringing woman. Uh-oh. Alright, so we found a chamber full of the tentacle masses. Let's go ahead and give them a thrashing. Oh, ho, ho, look at the damage from that. Uh-oh. Ouch! They're poisoning you. You fool! What you got? Frenzy cold blood? Eh. Thick cold blood? Eh. Yeah, so it appears whenever someone dies in this game, those sobbing sounds that we hear are in fact their specters. I guess the messengers are crying because they're sad that you're the person that they worked for passed away, but I don't know for certain what that's supposed to be. Alright, I thought there was another passage here somewhere, but I guess it just leads back out into the big lake. Oh, maybe. Maybe there's a passage here. Don't know. No. Sure isn't. Just drops straight down. I think where we need to go is actually a cave. If not in that direction, back this way towards the tomb there. Behind it, actually. But let's go down. Owie! That didn't work as planned. Okay. That is a lot of what looked like babies. Come on, get out of the way. This is nonsense. I hate these areas. Ah, I just got killed with a rock. And now you can see why I hate this area. That sludge is lethal on its own. Then you have all these creatures that spit poison at you. And, of course, that one towering jerk in the distance there threw a rock and killed me in one hit. It may behoove me to get rid of the student's uniform since it's an under-leveled piece of equipment. We'll put on something nice. Something nice. Let's do the... I always fall back to the Yharnam Hunter garb. I just like it. It's good looking. And because we didn't find the bell-ringing woman, unfortunately, we will still have to deal with the potential for invasion. Also, the Tonitrus took some wear just from fighting enemies, so we got to keep an eye on that. It could very well become an issue before we get out of this area. As you can see, the ground below is bottomless, seemingly. Another important thing to note, and we had maybe seen a little bit of this before, but let's pull up the monocular and take a chance peeking at this stuff in the distance on the possibility that we get invaded while we're trying to look at it. So those look like ship masts with sails. Which would lead one to believe that somewhere below is water. When we were in the Hunter's Dream, I don't know if it was super obvious from what we could see, but... And, oh, I stepped off the ledge there. The distance, you know, when we were looking out into the haze and what's now become darkening clouds, had all those what were seemingly pillars that were wrapped at the top. Those could also be masts, ship masts. And then maybe most important of all, the ground itself seemed to be undulating, as if it was a body of water, perhaps? So it seems these dreams that we're encountering are in fact all tied to a body of water or bodies of water. Don't know if that means that they are good points of traversal into the nightmare or to the dream world. Could just be a coincidence. It could represent a lot of things. I would also note that this area is full of what appears to be tombstones. Very bizarre, awful-looking tombstones, and also, in some cases, tombstones that were full of goo. Really hard to make sense of that. But this is a nightmare, so things don't necessarily need to make sense. They simply need to horrify you. And they are certainly horrifying from what we're looking at. It's an Oogie Boogie! I want what you have! Even if I don't need it. Wants and needs don't need to align. I'm expecting an NPC to invade and attack me again. Although technically the one that we saw was, I believe, meant to be there all along, so we probably didn't get invaded so much as someone who was already here just kind of found us and attacked. That sound is right there. There she is. So now we have a point of reference for where she is. We just need to find a way to her. Or, alternatively, we could use a weapon and attack her from here. Ow! I got around while I was still trying to find a way to him. Let's see if we got the range to nail her with a couple of Molotovs. That may be all it takes. Ah, just short. How about we get up here and try that? May not make it. It's still kind of a long way. And certainly not from there. Nope. Can I shoot her? And if I can, will it do any damage? Nope. She's pretty well ensconced in there unless we got something else that's longer range. We might. The question is, will it do what we want it to do? Where are they? Where are they? They're there. So, let's see if this will do the trick. Got her. Got her. Got her. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. There we go. She's poisoned. That should take care of her. And see ya. That may not be the only bell-ringing woman in the area, but it does say that it has ceased. So we won't be invaded anymore. And I think once you kill her, she does not respawn in this area. She's kind of like the hunters that we just took care of earlier. They will not return. And I don't think this led me to anywhere other than the other side of this cave where all the guys throwing rocks were located, right? Yep. All right, so we'll leave that for now. I'll also apologize in advance that we may miss some items simply because the area is so convoluted. I just don't know for certain if I'm finding everything wandering around or if I may walk directly past something simply because I'm not looking in the direction that the item is located. All of these are possibilities. A yoink. Also, I should put the antidote back on. Not that we're going to use it right now, but, you know, it might be useful. Okay, so that's not doing the trick, but this will. Get out of the poison, heal up, and go punish the big jerk throwing rocks at me. Hopefully without him seeing me. There he is. And an Oogie Boogie! I want the Oogie Boogie! Again, I think their actual name is something like Abnormality. But it's more fun to call him Oogie Boogie. You had this coming. And if he didn't have my blood echoes, I don't know where they are. But clearly not even this point is safe. He's strong. You just can't nail me from that distance. Clear deep sea. So now that we are free of the potential for invasion, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at some of the items that we have picked up. We picked up some runes. We picked up a counter or clockwise metamorphosis that just adds more life. The item description does not change. We also found a couple of lakes and seas. We found, was it fading or dissipating? It was one of these two. But again, same description as the previous lake items, talking about the lake serving as a bulwark and go overcome the hindrance so you can find what you're looking for. And let's find the stunning deep sea is what we found. Oh, and I guess we did find another clear deep sea, but the item description will be the same. Same with the stunning deep sea as well. So all this is giving options to buffer your poison resistance, since you're walking through a giant lake of poison, and give you an opportunity to recover your health a little more easily, or protect against the poison status effect with some careful rune allocation. I'm not too worried about it. I can just slap a little blood in my body. But this guy has it coming. Oh, yes you do, my friend. And goodbye. About as satisfying a kill as I'll get in this game. Now let's dope up with the antidote. And go ahead and hit myself with a little blood. And I think this is where we're going to find one of the strangest things in the entire game. And I definitely need sedative for this encounter. I think the weapon I have equipped will work on this enemy. It is this area, isn't it? Or do I gotta drop down? There it is. That is a winter lantern. And that is an enemy we don't want to wait around for, because the second it locks eyes on us, and by eyes I mean all those eyes on its pulsating brain, we're going to start building frenzy damage, or frenzy status, very fast. Unfortunately, it also has a grab attack, and if it grabs you, it can continue to stack the frenzy on you while it's doing its damage. This will also give us a good example of what happens exactly when you build frenzy damage to your body. I just don't want to find out the hard way by letting it get me from a distance. We're going to wait until it gets as close as it will on its patrol, and then go after him. You hear the singing? Let's see if we can't get in. Get in on it. We're making distance on him. Come on. Come on. Oh, big miss! Got it. Oh, uh-oh. Here it goes. Oh, the frenzy was building fast there. I have died to that one winter lantern probably 20, 30 times playing this game. It is not an understatement to say that that is maybe the toughest normal enemy in the entire game. Simply because it does incredible amounts of damage very quickly. And if you don't dispose of it fast, and you don't have a stock of sedatives available to replenish your frenzy status quickly, and by replenish I mean kind of heal it, it will kill you. Because once that frenzy stack reaches the max, you take a massive amount of damage. Bloodstone chunks! We've been looking for some of those. Great timing. We wanted that. If you are a coward, you can actually avoid the encounter with the Winter Lantern by dropping to some platforms. We saw one of them up ahead. We'll go ahead and get up there quickly and take that way around just to see it. So if you go here, and instead of going around the corner, you just kind of drop down, you'll take a little bit of damage, possibly. Well, I didn't. And then you can just jump down from here to that platform. I don't know if it's safe to go any lower than this. I see another platform down there, but I don't know if you can reach it safely. Well, I see an item. So, possibly. But I want to make sure there's a way out if that is a dead end. Another person in church hunter garb. Fear singing. Yeah, I know. Oh, I'm well aware. And then a shortcut down to not a great area. You don't want to go down there on purpose. You may get in there by accident. Another Oogie Boogie! No Oogie Boogie. And I hear another Winter Lantern. Okay, so this is, yeah, this was what we were looking at from above, right here. Lead elixir. The reason they keep giving us lead elixir, which I believe makes you impossible to stagger, is because of all the invasions that happen in the area. Also, possibly because if a Winter Lantern grabs you, it's possible that it stops them from doing their grab attack. I don't know that for certain. That is pure conjecture. What is not conjecture is we hear that Winter Lantern somewhere nearby. What makes it especially creepy is the singing is a stack of a female and male voice doing the same notes. Where you at, creep? I don't see it anywhere. So that is where we need to go in the main area. We may take a detour before we get in there just to sweep the area for any other important items we want to pick up. Just want to make sure we aren't jumping into a one-way pit. We are not. And so that is the boss fight right there. Let's see if there's any shortcuts that we can unlock. I pancaked you, sucker. Unfortunately, it was also stacking rapid poison. Rapid poison is different from slow poison in that it's rapid. What? Interesting. Almost looks like these stone platforms have roots coming out of them, and yet we've seen no major plants to explain what they are. But, and this seems like an easy dismissal of anything you can't explain in these areas, it is a nightmare. It doesn't necessarily need to make sense, it just needs to disturb you, horrify you, bug you out. I just heard something scream. I assume it's one of those. Hey, what's up? You want to fight? He did not want to fight. He was like, nah, I'm cool. I'm just watching. Hey, well, what are you doing? Ah! Okay, so I guess they don't want me to go that way. Is there anything behind you? Nothing there, right? We're just standing here? Yep. How about further up this path? Just leads the same way we came. And you can't get there. Aha! Important. This is the platform, taking us back up to the entrance for the Nightmare Frontier. This was the trigger that we saw earlier that we couldn't do anything with because it was not unlockable from there. We had to go to the other one first. And that's the bridge, and that leads back to the Hunter Lantern at the beginning of the area. Also, I guess we did pick up that item. I don't remember doing it. Did we jump? I guess we jumped, yeah. And while we're doing this, I'm going to see if I can't find a map and just make double sure we're not missing anything critical in the area. There's a single rune it looks like we might have missed, and that is it. And we may go down there and get that anyway, just to pick it up. But otherwise, we don't have to. It is a nice boost to our resistances. That is the main thing that we get from it. So, not a huge deal. We don't have to do that. That may be one of those things where I just kind of circle back to the area at a later time to grab it, but if I can get it easily from here, maybe I can, we won't have to worry about sweeping back through the area later. Owie! I have no explanation for what's hitting me. Seriously, what is hitting me? How are you still alive? I gave you my biggest salvo. You should be dead. Uh-oh. Get out of the rapid poison! Rapid poison is no joke in this game. Slow poison can still do some damage if you're not paying attention, but it's still a very much manageable status effect. The real trouble is where rapid poison comes into play, because it can kill you in, 15, 20 seconds. It stacks up some damage very, very quickly. Slow poison represents more of a minor nuisance. Okay. Oh, come on. Get up there. There we go. And let's go ahead and antidote up. And blood up. I can find my blood. Why am I looking there for blood? Yeah, I'm a dummy. Still never found that other Winter Lantern. Maybe that's for the best. Some of that unnerving singing. It's not a creature you want to deal with if you can avoid it. Not worth the strain. Let's take a look at this before we head into the fight. 61. That should be enough. That should be enough. It might not be a bad idea to try to stack that blood gems, or the bolt gemstone on it, but I think we can do this. I have faith. And, oh, let's go find that other... Oh, the Winter Lantern is in here. That might be where we need to go. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go after the rune. If we can figure out how to get to it quickly. This could also be a terrible mistake. This is an important find down here that we don't have a good explanation for at this point, but that is a flower that holds great significance in the story. I'll talk about it at a later time. We're going to find that winter lantern down here in the poison. That's why we could hear it, because we were directly over top. In fact, you can hear it now. It's somewhere in that direction there. Keeping my eyes open. There it is. All right, so blood up. We may not be able to avoid pissing it off because it looks like it's kind of poised up in a corner. Here we go. Let's do it. I missed. I got him. All right, sedatives. Sedative. Whew. That was closer than I meant. Cursed Tempering Blood Gemstone. So the cursed gemstones are unique because they usually have a very powerful effect. They may add a ton of extra damage, but they also come with a negative. That negative is sometimes your health goes down just by having it equipped. Sometimes it's something like you might take more damage from certain status effects, like poison, or maybe an element will do more damage to you than normal. But they're kind of a trade-off. You get a much more effective gemstone for whatever the positive effect is at the expense of whatever the negative effect it'll be. Yes, so this was where the Great Deep Sea rune is going to be located. We just have to find our way to it. And of course, since this is meant to be a big trap to cause more damage to you, we're going to get lost quite a bit, probably. Try to stumble our way through it. Finding tons of kin cold blood. That was the item that was telling us what the difference is between kin and great ones, I think. There we go. We're starting to get in on the area. So if you come this way, you have a more manageable experience. You can control the encounters a little better. If you come this way, the way that most people would, which is they get tricked by the spider guy, he kicks you and you fall down into this poison pit from above. We didn't do that. I don't know if we can still do it or not. I don't think it really matters. All you need to know is it's kind of a callback to the previous From Software games that had a similar patches-like character. Or in the case of the Dark Souls games, they are patches. This game, it's whatever his name is. Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man. You haven't seen the last of me, Spider-Man! By the way, I think today is when the new Spider-Man movie comes out. I'm very excited about that. I want to see it. Don't have tickets for opening night. Unfortunately, I am a grown-ass man and I have a job, so I can't go do that, the midnight premiere, and then turn around and go to work the next day. It just does not work out that way. Alright, so we are a little bit low on blood. This may or may not end in a positive manner, but we're going to go fight an enemy here. I get a little water. Not to mention that it's a very striking tower there. I'm not sure what it's meant to represent. Obviously, it may well just be a representation of a building from either Byrgenwerth or the Healing Church, but unless we have something overt that says that's what it is, we don't know for certain. 46. Not great. If we do die here, I will go back to the Hunter's Dream, spend some of these cold bloods that I've got stocked to repair the equipment I have, maybe level up, and then certainly put that Bolt Blood gemstone in the weapon. But let's give it a try. Amygdala. Amygdala. Oh, wow, that was a ton of damage. One hit almost killed me. So the secret is you gotta hit the arms. That's the weak spot on these guys. And also the way he fights, which we're not having much luck with right now. Come on, man, I need something. Give me a hit. There we go. I hit one. I hit him again. Now, he is kin, I believe. Possibly not. He is bleeding normal blood, and I believe kin normally have the pale blood, so... There's one arm. Oh, maybe not. No, he's still got the arm, but we're doing damage to it. That's good. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Oh, that's not bad. Alright. A little frenzy on his part. Oh, oh, get out of there. That's bad. Oh, crap. Ouch. The head is also a very sensitive spot for him. If you can manage to get him down low enough, not an easy task. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Come on, get some blood. Get some blood. And, yeah, you can see he's mad, so now he's ripped his own arms off to use them attacking. Unfortunately, it means they're no longer easy targets for you. Yeah, look at the blood gushing out. If you get too far away, he will use ranged attacks. Oh! Oh, I had a chance! Uh-oh, uh-oh. Ow! Oh, we're running out of blood here. Oh, big hit on his head. Come on. Doing the Visso! Oh, come on. It didn't kill him. But we got a shot on his arm, I think. Come on. No, I missed it. Don't let him kill me here. Nope. Yep. Okay. Oh, I need like one hit. Oh, this is maddening. I wonder if you can hit the nub on the tail. This is bad. Oh, come on. I need something. Give me a target. I'll hit your legs if I have to. Uh-oh. I'm dead. Ah, crap. I ran out of blood and I just could not get him to give me an easy target. That enemy is not normally a blocker since this is an optional area, but there are parts of the Chalice dungeon where amygdalas appear. By the way, a little bit of lore significance to the name, of course. If you know anything about the brain, amygdalin, I believe, is what triggers a fear response in human beings in their brain. Not 100% certain on that. That would certainly be something I would love to look up and confirm, possibly while we're doing a quick trip back to the Hunter's Dream. Why not? And help if I spelled it right. Okay, so according to Wikipedia, if you take that for everything that that's worth, the amygdala is one of two almond-shaped clusters of nuclei located deep and medially within the temporal lobes of the brain's cerebrum in complex vertebrates, including humans. Shown to perform a primary role in the processing of memory, decision-making, and emotional responses, including fear, anxiety, and aggression. The amygdalae are considered part of the limbic system. The term amygdala was first introduced by Carl Friedrich Burdach in 1822. So that is the part of the brain that, yes, does regulate a fear response. So, yes, that thing is definitely capable of inducing a fear response when you look at it. I think they named it quite well. Let's use some of these delicious, yummy cold bloods that we got. We had already looked at the kin cold blood, I think, in the last episode. We'll look at it again just to see what it's looking like there. Cold blood of a human kin of the cosmos, brethren of the great ones. Used to gain unspeakable blood echoes, dare not delve into the world beyond humanity, the eldritch truth touched upon long ago at Byrgenwerth. So this is... And as you go up through the ranks of the cold blood that you find in the game, it becomes more bizarre looking and has weirder stuff popping out of it. So let's pop the biggest... let's pop one of these first, see what we get out of it. That should be enough. What we want to do is we want to repair our weapons, because they're all getting a little roughed up. Come on. There you go. And we're going to put that bolt gemstone into this one. So it bumps our bolt attack up a tiny bit. But that's probably the best weapon you're going to want to put it in the game. And this was the Cursed Tempering Blood Gemstone. It increases your physical attack damage, but it also increases your stamina costs by 1.6%. So that's the trade-off there. You can put it in a weapon, and the weapon will do more damage, but it will also cost you more stamina per swing. So that seems like a worthwhile trade-off. In fact, we may go ahead and put it on. And let's see whether or not the fire blood gemstone we got is better. It is definitely not. How about this one? Hit points continue to recover. That seems like a worthwhile investment, even if we lose a little bit of our stamina cost as a result of that. And I don't think there's anything else here that we got of any great significance. Nope. That's it. All right. Let's go give this another try. I believe we got to go through this busted one up here. Look familiar? Just like the tombstones in the Nightmare, the ones that split open and have a gooey cream filling, for lack of a better descriptor. I was worried we were going to end this episode early. I think we're going to end at exactly the 2-hour mark at this point. Unless I botch somehow. Alright. Moving right along. And again, I think once you kill that bell-ringing woman, you no longer are in danger of getting invaded. So we have nothing to fear from the possibility of another player jumping into the game. And I will not try to brag about my prowess against other players in the game. I'm nothing special. I'd say if I had to guess, I probably lose more often than I win in those encounters because I don't take advantage of having really laggy connections to the internet when I'm fighting enemies. Seems like every time I lose against someone, it's because they have a poor enough connection that they get a backstab on me that, frankly, does not make any sense. I like these guys have sideways mouths. It's very unique, strange, spooky. And again, that ledge that was up above that we could see right there, all the glinting things, and right there is old Spider-Man. Just for the hell of it, let's go up there and give him what he wants. He wants to trap us. Let's give him the trap. I think we can do it from here. Well, maybe we gotta go up this way to get to it. And it looks like there is at least one item up there that we can acquire. So it wouldn't be a total waste if we can grab it. I don't think we can. I think the second we try, we will go into the cutscene where he kicks us off the ledge. Yep, this is the way. In fact, I see an item we didn't get last time. We lacked the insight, to see this item. So we were so busy looking at those things. And I think I just missed another Oogie Boogie because I saw a blood spot here. It's alright. All they really drop is those bloodstone shards. And we got probably the biggest boost out of all of them earlier when we got those blood chunks. And those are the really big Oogie Boogies that I don't think you see in great quantity in this game. Alright, so we see a whole bunch of sparklies here and here and here and here. And one down there that we can try to get, but odds are we won't be able to. Yep, here we go. Punt. Yep, have your laugh, jackass. Oh, we found the Godhead already. We know about its gift. Interesting. We didn't find those last time, so it may have been a side chamber we missed. I'm not sure which is the way to get out. I don't know if it's this way or the other way. Ow, you jerk. This isn't the weapon you want to use. This is the weapon you want to use. And we're back out in the big poison lake. Yep. Alright, so that is how you get out of there. And just in time to finish recovering my poison status. Grab that. Get the hell out of there. Try to roll, 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 roll. Alright. Hey, what up, dog? Come get it. Another Bolt Blood gemstone. Nice. Fortunately, they're all the crescent variety, and you don't have a ton of slots to put those in unless you find some of the unique variants of the weapons down in the Chalice dungeons. It's an option, but it's an option I would probably pursue off-screen because it's too time-consuming. And these episodes are already super long, and I'm not trying to punish you. I swear. I'm not. Don't you close this video. Get back here. I find it interesting that a beast that is so easily damaged by fire would be carrying a fire implement. Kind of contradictory. You would think he would want nothing to do with fire. Alright, so we don't need to fight any of those guys. What we really need to do is we need to get in here, grab our blood echoes if we can find them. And if it's in a tough spot to get to, I'm not that worried about getting them. We know an easy way to get more. Ooh, we did some damage to him. He's oozing stuff. He didn't like that. Alright, give me that shot. Give me that Visso. Right in the noggin. Didn't like that. Uh-oh. He's gonna do his laser beam. Trying to get him to put his head down again. But that's not a move you can guarantee. Ah, damn, missed. Got him. Roll away. Ah, lifted it right when I got to it. I do not see my blood echoes anywhere. Damn it. Put your head down. Oh, got him. Big hit. Oh, I'm stacking some good damage now. Oh, shit. One hit. He killed me in one hit. This guy is such a dick. At least there's a quick way back. And as I predicted, I lost all those blood echoes. Whatever. Alright, that's in pretty good shape still. So the short way down here is just dropping straight down. Take a tiny bit of damage, but that's not too big a deal. I don't want to get attacked on the weight. I don't think he knows how to get to me. It's alright. Gonna give me some more fire blood or bolt blood gemstones. That'd be nice. Or not. Whatever. It's your life, dog. You do what you need to. Go, 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 go. Ouch! Oh, crappy one kidding me again. I thought I was going to avoid the damage and I rolled right into it. I'm an idiot. This fight's hard. I got close 2 times, and that time I didn't even get 1 hit on him. He just pancaked me. There's not even going to be blood echoes to pick up. It's just going to be a red smear on the ground. I don't think there's anything behind it or below that we can get to. I think if you go down there, you just die. Sometimes there's stuff like that. Game does like putting little hidden passages in areas kind of like that. Alright. Now, hopefully this time he doesn't just come in and give me his haymaker to start the fight. Alright, lesson learned. I'm not going to run underneath you this time. Oh, look at that. Oh. Get the arm. Yep, there we go. I was going to start pooping his weird head blood. Alright, I'm not going to stand there, so you might as well just not do that. Okay. Ow! Oh, big hits. Come on. Look at that. He's still trying to poop his blood on me. Okay, I rolled right into that. That was dumb. Oh, right in the head. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't know what it is. I don't like it. Oh, come on. Give me the Visso! Gotcha. Uh-oh. I'm not getting anything. I have no target. I have to switch weapons here since I can't hit him. Well, that did something. Uh-oh. Get some blood, get some blood. Shit. Oh, come on, give me like an arm, back arm somewhere. That'll work. Uh-oh. Oh, I don't know how I avoided that. I don't know how I avoided that. Alright, that's not doing much. It's giving me range, but it's not doing much damage. Oh. Woo! Uh-oh, uh-oh. Get some blood. Blood, 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 blood. Shoo. Nothing. I got nothing to hit. Alright, back off. Blood up. Damn it! This is demoralizing. I can't find anything. And he's hitting me no problem. I hit something. I hit something. I got something. Come on, give me some arms. I don't mind cheese, just give me a target. I hit something. Get him! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Shake off the blood. Would you believe me if I told you I don't know if I've ever actually lost to that enemy before today? I don't know why. It was just different this time. It was difficult. I've never really struggled with that boss in the past. So I picked up an item that we'll probably never actually use, but we can look at it certainly just to get a good idea of what it represents. If I can remember where it is. It's in the chalices. Duh. This one right here. The Ailing Loran Chalice. Ailing Loran Chalice. A chalice that breaks a labyrinth seal. Loran is a tragic land that was devoured by the sands. The tragedy that struck this ailing land of Loran is said to have its roots in the Scourge of the Beast. Some have made the dreaded extrapolation that Yharnam may be next. So it sounds like the Scourge of the Beast, according to this item, may have actually come from a different place altogether, but seeing as how Blood Ministration seems to have a more direct tie to the Scourge of Beasts than anything else we've seen, this item may be misleading. Just my interpretation. I'm sure some people will say, no, it's proof positive that it actually came from Lorand. Well, why would you get werewolves from a land devoured by sands? That doesn't make sense. I don't know if any of these other things tell you anything special. Well, they do have a little bit. Yeah. Let's read one of these. They both kind of say the same thing. Yeah, pretty much. Tumero Root Chalice. Root Chalice that breaks multiple labyrinth seals. Root chalices used in rituals to break old labyrinth seals are said to change the labyrinth's form each time. The old labyrinth was carved out by the Tumerians, superhuman beings that are said to have unlocked the wisdom of the Eldritch Truth. So that was something that I had talked about in brief when I was discussing the Tumerians in the previous episode. Basically, somehow they had found a way to possibly communicate or understand the Great Ones, and as a result, they gained unique abilities that are, as the game described, superhuman. So it's not a leap to say that those people talked to or understood the Great Ones, since they seem to be able to do things that we simply cannot do. We can use items that allow us to open portals or do things that are tied to beasthood, but we have nothing that turns our body into flame. At least nothing that I've found. So I don't think there's anything in here as a result of what we accomplished. We can get some Cold Blood Flower Bud, which is a ritual material. Let's look at that one real quick. Material used in a Holy Chalice ritual. Pale vegetation that commonly grows on cold blood in a place long ago abandoned. So nothing special about that one. Was there anything else? Nothing there. I think we talked about possibly looking at the Kirkhammer. We can certainly put some gems into it now. We've got more than enough to upgrade it. Well, 8. We would fall just short of getting it to level 6. So what we can do is we can certainly bump it up to 5. And then we can throw some blood gems on there if we got any good ones that we had not already applied to another item. Thrust ain't going to help this weapon. Well, it could, depending on the state that you use the weapon in more often. And we've got plenty of these triangular blood gems that we have not used anywhere else. This would be the only weapon that we would have that opportunity. 77. 80. Ooh. That's a good one. Interesting. It was my understanding that the nourishing prefix on blood gemstones meant that it would give you health regeneration of some kind, and this one does not appear to do so at all. Disappointing. So in fact, this is now the most damaging weapon in my arsenal, but as we'll see in a second here, you can do it as just a sword weapon, which has a little bit of a slow swing compared to the standard saw cleaver or saw spears. I think they swing just a tiny bit faster. But the benefit of the Kirkhammer is, even though this would be a faster attack, you can always stick your sword into the hammer part and use it as a club, or a big, nasty hammer. You manage to land a hit with this thing, it does a ton of damage. It's also one of the coolest weapons to insert your sword and remove it. Although logically, that sword would not make a good hilt for a weapon that heavy. It would break the first time you tried to use it in that way. Anyway, let's check the regular old messenger bath. See if they've got anything good. Nothing that I'm seeing. No clothing, no Carol runes, no chalices, nothing like that. I don't think Gehrman has come back. He has not. One other thing. We had talked about it before and we did not see that situation and it might have changed. Let's go back to Cathedral Ward and see if the old lady has come back. Again, spoiler alert, she's not going to come back. I don't think optional areas act as triggers for characters that leave, either coming back or disappearing for good, so we may or may not find her out here. It was my understanding her body usually is found right here. Like, you don't have to go far. She's just right out in the open. Nope, not seeing it. I don't think she goes back here. I think it just happens right outside in this main open area. That's right. Not a big deal. We will find her, unfortunately, in a future episode. But let's mix things up. We're going to end it in Eden Chapel for once. So just to recap what we did in this episode. I had a brief recap of what we did in the previous one, where we just kind of explored the Chalice dungeons and then caught up with all the people and Eden Chapel, and then to start this episode we came back here and found that, of course, the old lady who we had basically taken all of the sedative from left us a note telling us that she was going to go out to try to find some more. She's gone for now. We will unfortunately find her at a future time, not in the best of shape. We did go into the chapel that's to the right of the High Cathedral, and we found the amygdala that was hanging up in the upper rafters, scooped us up with its hand, crushed us. We suffered a burst of frenzy that did not kill us, and we were transported to the lecture building, which is, as the one item we found described, adrift in the nightmare. Whether that means it's actually in the nightmare realm or it's somewhere kind of between realms, hard to say for certain. As we were wandering around, we found a bunch of those students had been transformed into kind of a jelly-like creature, very floppy and has the ability to stretch itself in bizarre proportions. They also appear to be drinking some chemical concoctions, which may be part of what caused their current state, and spewing it at us. So that may have had something to do with it, but it could also just be that they're adrift in the nightmare. We found some grotesque ritual materials, the red jelly, which unfortunately is a fetus, from what we can tell. And we also picked up the Augur of Ebrietas, which is an item that, as the game tells us, is used to summon abandoned Ebrietas. We have no idea what that is, because all we can tell from looking at this is it's just a slug, or in this case, it's, in the game terminology, a phantasm. And that it was the item that gave us the first notion of a fourth group kind of tied into all of the things going on in the game, known as the choir, as I mentioned before. Almost certainly the group that is singing when we go into Yahar Ghul. We don't know for certain, but if you have a group called the choir, odds are they're probably singing somewhere. And then we exited the lecture building and made our way into the Nightmare Frontier. Again, I don't know if there's a really good lore-specific explanation for the area, other than if it's weird or unsettling and creeps you out, it probably belongs in the Nightmare. We found plenty of runes, nothing that really added anything significant to the storyline, but we also found two significant enemies in there that may have some lore explanation. That weird, floppy, writhing mass of tentacles, and also the Winter Lanterns. The Winter Lanterns are a source of extreme frenzy buildup if you don't take care of them quickly. And they have some very bizarre vocals when they sing. And then we found the enemy at the very end of the area, which was Amygdala. So you do actually fight and kill one of these creatures that's out here clinging on the building. As you can see, it took a ton of work to kill just the one. And we have another one right here, as well as back in that chapel up to the right of the High Cathedral. So we did good work getting rid of one of them, but unfortunately, that's not the only one in the game. And we will probably have to deal with a couple more before the end of this game. Thankfully, it won't be a result of a boss battle. You'll just have to avoid them when they try to take you on. So that's going to do it for episode... I didn't just shoot the skeptical man, did I? No, but I probably taught him not to argue with me anymore. It's going to do it for episode 9 of my Bloodborne lore play. As always, I do appreciate everyone watching, and I will see you next time.